from California is recognized.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I yield myself such time as I may consume.
The gentlewoman is recognized for such time as she may consume.
Mr. Chairman and members, I rise today to shine a light on what has happened in the development of the Terrorism Risk Insurance Program Reauthorization Act. I rise today to talk about the fact that the chairman of our committee, the Financial Services Committee, did not want at one point to reauthorize terrorism risk insurance at all. And so he strung out the possibility of negotiations for months. He had decided that he was not going to reauthorize, no, not now, Mr. Chairman, that he was not going to reauthorize terrorism insurance. And he will tell you that he offered to negotiate it with me. The only thing that I ever remember about a conversation that we had was that my chairman said, I will only negotiate this once, starting out in bad faith. And so, time went on, and at some point in time, somebody convinced him that to reauthorize the Terrorism Risk Insurance Program was an honorable thing to do. It was an American thing to do. It was an important thing to do. That this program had been passed and signed on by the President of the United States after 9/11. The insurance companies who insure risk basically said they cannot model terrorism acts. And after 9/11, it was decided that we would mandate that they insure, but we would provide a backstop. That we would provide a backstop to ensure that we could rebuild our communities, that we could rebuild these huge venues, these important places in our lives, in the case of a terrorism attack. And so, when Mr. Hinchland finally decided that he would negotiate, he ended up in negotiations with Mr. Schumer, and Mr. Schumer and the Democrats basically conceded and gave in on a lot of things. We supported originally the Senate bill. We thought the Senate bill was a fine bill that reauthorized terrorism and risk for 7 years. And of course, it had in it the backstop after $100 million was spent by the industry. And it basically did everything that we wanted it to have done, just as it had started out to do. Mr. Hinchland came along, and he decided that he wanted to reduce the time of the reauthorization. And I don't know what he started out with, but we ended up with 6 years instead of 7 years. We gave in. I remember that he wanted bifurcation in the bill. He wanted to distinguish between what kind of terrorist attack, how much it was worth, and whether some of it was worse than others. He talked about bifurcating in ways that you would distinguish between radiological, biological, chemical, and others. And so we negotiated and negotiated, and finally we got that out of Mr. Hinchland's mind about bifurcation. And then Mr. Hinchland said that we needed to reduce our backstop. And instead of backstopping after $100 million, he raised it. First, he talked about $500 million. And finally, secondly, he talked about $250 million. And finally, we got him down to $200 million. And it's over a 5-year period of time. So we said, okay, we negotiated in good faith. and we'll go along with the changes. We're willing to concede that you have some different thoughts, and that's okay. Let's come together in a bipartisan way and support the reauthorization of terrorism and risk insurance. I was informed later on that my chairman came back to the table with any number of things that had nothing to do with terrorism risk insurance, but had more to do with Dodd-Frank. Because unfortunately, my chairman and too many members on the opposite side of the aisle are content on dismantling Dodd-Frank in any and every way that they possibly can. And finally, in those negotiations, the way it has been explained to me, that they agreed that they would allow him to add just one aspect of the Dodd-Frank, a bill that had passed this House, to talk about how agriculture and some other industries could lock in some prices so that they could look forward to what a price would be on those commodities, et cetera, that they would have to purchase. This had nothing to do with terrorism insurance. And so I'm not saying to the members, you shouldn't vote for this bill. What I'm pointing out is that this is just another attempt for the chairman to indicate in every way that he possibly can and take advantage of any opportunities that present itself to get a little something in about Dodd-Frank. And what I worry about is not so much about what he has put into TRIA. I worry about what's going into the omnibus bill. I worry about the fact that in addition to this, there is an attempt, if it has not already been done, to place into the omnibus bill a repeal of part of Dodd-Frank that would prevent the biggest banks in America from taking advantage of our consumers by using their hard-earned money to do risky derivatives trading that should be pushed out into their subsidiaries and not have FDIC in any way support or protect them in doing this. And so what I say is this: we should know and we should understand exactly how the process works. We should know and understand what is being done and why it is being done. If in fact, there is so much care and concern about TRIA reauthorization, we should have a clean bill with nothing else in it. If we want to debate Dodd-Frank, what we don't like about it, what we like about it, let's do it straight up. Let's not slip it in at the 11th hour, at a time when our backs are up against the wall, at a time when we're closing down this session. And that's what I'm opposed to. So with that, Mr. Speaker, Mr. Chairman, I will retain the balance of my time.